Hello there, everyone. Welcome to today's live stream. We're still doing our live stream on building your personalized eating plan. So let me share my screen quickly. There we go. So it's our Tuesday live stream video series time. I hope you are all having a wonderful week. And today we're going to be talking about keeping your blood sugar levels stable. Now, this is an extremely important part of making sure that your physiology is at a point where your body can work at its best, and thereby your body can give you everything and become its best. So if you have goals for your body, specifically a lot of people want to lose weight and get their bodies feeling better, making sure that your physiology is working well is the way to make this happen. I keep focusing on you mustn't focus on that goal so much or the weight so much. You must focus on your process of getting your body healthier so that it can be its best. And so the physiology is such an important part of that. And for the next few weeks, we're going to be looking at bits and pieces of our physiology that you can work on to ensure that your body works at its best. So today is the first of those, and that is keeping blood sugar levels stable. Okay, so let's take a look at blood sugars levels. What are they? The word sugar in itself has got such a negative connotation that I want to put that down once and for all, that we need sugar in the blood for the body to function. Not too much, not too little. So the ideal level is generally between about 4.4 millimoles per liters to 6.7 millimoles per liters. And we want to try and make sure that our bodies stay in this range most of the time. So as you can think, this is blood sugar. What foods convert into sugar? And that is your carbohydrates, which is why I am not a fan of decreasing carbohydrates too much, because I find that then makes it harder to control the blood sugar levels. And yeah, so it's important to remember that carbohydrates convert into sugar or glucose, and that is what we need to keep our blood sugar levels stable. Okay, so let's take a look at for a moment. When your blood sugar levels are stable, what is good about that? Basically, your body releases more fat, so your body is able to tap into the fat stores and utilize fat as part of its energy stores. When your blood sugar levels are also stable, it also protects your muscle. So remember that we want a good amount of muscle in our body so that our body shape is good, we've got good tone, and women are already at a disadvantage. We don't have as much muscle. Men definitely have more. They've got more testosterone, and so it's easier to build the muscle. But one thing you don't want is you don't want your muscle to disappear. And when you let your blood sugars go too low and your body needs that glucose fast, it will tend to burn the muscle to get that. And so we decrease our chance of having maximum blood sugar levels when we're not eating enough carbohydrates often and not keeping our blood sugars nicely controlled. Cravings is what you get when you don't eat enough carbohydrates, and often when you don't keep your blood sugar stable, the blood sugars drop, there's cravings. So cravings are gone. Energy is much more stable when you keep your blood sugar levels stable, and that is why it is such an important part of getting your body into its best place. So let's take a look quickly. If you eat too many carbohydrates, what happens? So if you're going to eat, let's say you eat 4 slices of bread in one sitting. So all 4 slices of bread are now going to convert into sugar, and that sugar is then going to get released into the blood. So 4 slices of bread the curve is going to go much higher than if you say have 1 or 2 slices. Now, it also does depend on how quickly your body is using that glucose, and that depends on whether you've exercised or are exercising. Definitely the body uses it faster, so then 4 might be right for you. But think of it as the more carbohydrate I eat at one sitting, the higher my blood sugar potential is. And if that blood sugar goes over the recommended amount and the body doesn't need it at that point, then it is going to go into storage first of all. So you've got your sugar storage or glucose storage, your glycogen storage. So it's going to get stored there, but it's a very small storage. So if that is full and your body doesn't need as much, then the rest is going to go into body fat, okay, get stored as body fat. So we've got to really learn to control the amount of carbohydrates we eat at each time, because otherwise the blood sugars get too high, and if the body doesn't need it, it will get stored as fat. On the other hand, if we don't eat enough, okay, so things like skipping a meal can do that. If you're restricting very much on your calories or carbohydrates, often if you exercise on an empty stomach as well, your blood sugar levels will decrease quite a lot. And when they drop too low, then the body goes into a little bit of a space of, oh, I need energy fast. And it's going to find the glucose somewhere. It needs to find it. And it finds it, as I said, from muscle. So muscle is a very easy component in the body to break down into glucose. Remember, your amino acids, which is what makes up the muscle, or protein, are glucose molecules with a nitrogen attached to them. So they just need to cleave the nitrogen off, and then you've got your glucose that the body can then use. So muscle is the first line that the body goes to in that state of, oh, I don't have enough energy available or glucose available. In that state, the body tends to hold onto fat as well. The energy level crashes, and your body will send out quite a craving, intense craving, because it's going to try and get that energy in any way that it can. So we do need carbohydrates at most meals. If there isn't enough carbohydrates, then the blood sugars tend to drop. And so neither is good. We want to keep it at that constant level. Why do we want to keep it at that constant level? Like I said, your energy levels will be much more stable and constant. So if you find during the day you have a dip, often people feel it if they've had an intense exercise session, and they now find afterwards there's a big, like, massive energy dip, or a lot of people feel that energy dip at that late afternoon kind of time. That can often be that there's not enough glucose around. Moods. Many people know about being hangry. Often when I say to people, how do you know that you are hungry, that you need food? A lot of the time the answer is, oh, my moods decrease. I get more grumpy, more irritated. So the moods are not as stable if you let that blood sugar level dip. And at the same time, if you let your blood sugars go too high, then you're bouncing off the walls. We see that in kids far too easily. So when you keep your blood sugars stable, your moods are much more stable. There's also far more constant appetite. So you're not getting these intense cravings. Remember that cravings come from many different sides, and one of the biggest cravings that we have is actually a physiological craving. Blood sugars are low, body sending out an intense craving so that you will eat something so that it can gain the glucose from it. So when you're keeping your blood sugars constant, those cravings disappear. I'm not saying there's not going to be other cravings. There will still be that habitual craving of, oh, I just love these biscuits, I wish I could eat them now, and you go and get them. So that craving doesn't disappear with blood sugars being constant. And of course, emotional cravings don't disappear with blood sugars being constant. But I find that physiological cravings are actually the most common ones that we find. And when we control the blood sugars, a lot of the cravings decrease, and it is so much easier to control the other cravings that do require a little bit more work. Okay, metabolism is far more stable when your blood sugar levels are stable, and that's then where your body can just, when you're giving your body regular energy and it's always got some kind of energy available, then it can work at its best. And remember, metabolism is how much energy the body uses in a day. So your body will actually work at a far better rate where it uses a lot of energy because it's constantly getting energy, and so it knows it can use it. It starts trying to use less when they keep dipping too low too often. And then, of course, less fat storage. So remember, fat storage happens when you eat too much carbohydrates and your blood sugar is raised too high, and the body cannot utilize all of this glucose that has entered the bloodstream. And so that then goes off to fat storage. So if we want less fat storage, then we must prevent these highs that we get. So this is why we want to keep our blood sugars constant. So then the next question is, so how do I do this? I know this is an important thing to do. What do I need to do to keep my blood sugar levels constant? So I find it's vital that you start eating early. During the night of not eating, your blood sugar levels will have decreased. Luckily at night we don't need that much, and so going into very low is not necessarily what the body will do. It's got the glycogen stores that it can take from if it needs, but then when you get up in the morning and you start moving around and you start needing more energy, it is important to put some in, because your glycogen stores will be relatively depleted and it's now time to put some energy in. So start early. Generally the guideline is within an hour of getting up. If you get up super early in the morning, 4 or 5 o'clock, then a big breakfast might be difficult. Then just a little snack can definitely be sufficient to get you through the first few 1-2 hours max, and then you go and have your bigger breakfast. So eating early is important. It doesn't always need to be a big meal. Remember, when you eat a small snack, your body won't, the amount of sugar that you get into the blood is far less, and so you find that it won't keep you very long. But if you eat something a little bit more substantial, you might be kept, blood sugars will be kept stable much longer. So it doesn't matter where you start. If you want to start with something bigger because you don't have time to eat after that, do that. If you find it doesn't do so well with you eating so much, and you know you can eat again in 1 or 2 hours, then a little snack is a great way to start the day. And then we do need to eat at regular intervals thereafter. The regular intervals, though, is something that your body will tell you you need to do. So it's different for everyone. There is no one right answer. Some people do need to eat every 3 hours and end up eating about five times a day. Some people can leave it 5 hours and they are perfectly stable. So everyone's body is different, and we need to learn what are our intervals. And so to learn what your intervals are, you need to be able to listen to your body and know what your body is telling you. So that's a vital part of learning how you need to eat, is knowing what is happening in your body. So regular intervals are important, but what those are, I generally say 3 to 5 hours is generally what I advise to clients, and you need to figure out what that exactly is. And then, as we saw, carbohydrates is the food that converts into sugar. And so we do need carbohydrates at every meal, especially during the daytime where the body needs more energy. Later in the day, where the body needs less energy, it may not be as necessary, but during the day, definitely, I always advocate some kind of carbohydrate food or some kind of food that will convert into sugar so that your body has that ongoing energy. The type of carbohydrate is important here. So how much is important, and the type, which ones. So the way to think of it is foods that have more fiber in them will digest more slowly in your gut, and therefore the release of that sugar will be slower. So higher fiber, you probably all heard about the low GI, low glycemic index foods. That is a wonderful tool to use here, foods, because low glycemic index means it digests slowly and then really therefore releases the sugar more slowly into the blood. So low glycemic index food, high fiber foods are good ones to choose. The ones that are higher GI or have less fiber in them, you want to use on a much more sparing note. So remember, there's no foods that you cannot have, but you've just got to look at how much. And also a good thing to remember is why. Why am I eating this? Am I eating this because my stomach is hungry and my body needs food or energy? Or am I eating this because my mouth wants something nice? And if the mouth wants something nice, you can get away with a very small portion as long as you eat it correctly. And then the last point is the protein and the fat are really, really important to add in with the carbohydrate. And that again works on the glycemic load. So when protein and fat are in the stomach together with the carbohydrate, the carbohydrate is digested a lot slower because the fat and the protein also need to be digested and they get in the way. So they get in the way, but that's a good thing. So having some form of protein and or, so for meals I say both, for a snack one tends to be enough. So make sure that that is brought into the snack or the meal, and then you are then you'll know that your carbohydrate will definitely digest more slowly. And if it's digesting more slowly, that sugar is released more slowly, and we're much more likely to have more constant blood sugar levels. And that's it today on keeping your blood sugar levels constant. So I hope you have enjoyed the session. Next week, we'll continue looking at what can we do from a physiological perspective to ensure that our bodies work at their best. I don't think there are any questions, so I'll say goodbye for now and hope to see you all next week. Bye-bye.